Good morning, everybody. We had a little bit of data this morning. I think it was PPI data. Let me double check here. It was. So core PPI was 0.3. PPI month over month was 0.1. That was the old data. The new data is core PPI is 0% over 0.2. Retail sales 0.5 or 0.4. Regular PPI is 0.2 as expected. And retail sales 0.6 over 0.5, so a little bit above expectation. So all in all, not too crazy, pretty much as expected. Let's take a look at our trade plan here. So we're kind of playing out our bearish trade plan a little bit already. We set around 86. You're holding below that. You're looking for 65, which is kind of that prior node right there. And then around 53. So you already hit 65. That was damn near the bottom. 53 would still be a pretty good target. I think we're going to leave this pretty much the same. Let's see here. We'll say 53, and then we'll say 40. But then we'll lower the upper target. So we'll say 86 for that, and then going up to 7,008 and 24. Just bringing that down a little bit because of the overnight already pushing down. So we talked about this on the in the Discord at the close. I talked about how this possibly could be a lower high forming, and that would be the bearish scenario, pushing us back down into lower value, and that's kind of what's happening here. They were not able to push back up into that prior high, so it does look a little weak for now. The shape today would probably be a lowercase b. That'd probably be the closest you could give it, which would be bearish as long as we protect that lower high and that value low, the value low of yesterday. For NASDAQ, pretty much the same story. We said holding below 822, we're looking for 700. That was damn near the bottom to the tick. Next value level would be around 32 or 18. We do need to update this because those are already being tested. We're going to keep that at 822. We are going to... We're going to say 618 and 558. They're pretty far away, but unfortunately, those are the closest value levels that we have. So holding above 822, we're going to look for that prior high, let's say around 900. And then around 950. The same thing here, exactly what we talked about yesterday. that lower high kind of coming in, pushing you down. If that's not immediately broken on the open, then you are just looking to be a little bearish today. Delta, very trendy to the buy side on ES here. Keep an eye on VWAP around 80. Delta's pretty weak, a little choppy on NQ. Delta has been going straight up on ES for the past like 2 hours, even though we've been chopping around. Pretty weak on the open so far on NQ. A lot of bearish delta coming in here, nuking ES, even seeing the bearish delta on ES as well. So far, just seeing a continuation of that sell pressure from the pre-market. You're not really seeing any pushback from that pre-market downtrend. You'd have to push into like 80, stay above 80, which is right around VWAP as well. That initial surge in bearish delta completely being flipped. Delta is already higher than it was before that came in. Here's VWAP. So far, seeing a little bit of sell pressure on that VWAP at 79 and around 786 on the NQ. That's also kind of where the range high is. Isn't today the Supreme Court decision on tariffs, or is it Friday? I can't remember if it was Wednesday or Friday. Good morning, everybody. Want a Patriot, JC, Itachi, Ordinary? Let me pin the trade plan for you guys. There you go. It's today? Gotcha, okay. Yeah, we'll look out for that. That will definitely move the market. Good morning, Future, Morris, Scott, Jose, Leo, Roman. Banana still failing VWAP, by the way. You almost hit your lower target already, about halfway there. You're pretty much there on NQ. Where was I? Roman, Banana, Larry, Greg, Igor, AT. Good morning, Peter, Titus, Nitro. Good morning, Scott, Fernando. Flory, Jake, Tamer, Estevan. Good morning, Michael, Adam. Mr. B, Liquidated Angelo. Good morning, Ike. Good morning, Caliber, Ken, Vanquish, English. Good morning, Roger. Orion, XP. Good morning, Boz, eBay, Adriana. You want a ram? You want a tamer? Here's that lower target for that bear flag and a VWAP damn near instant. You only had to wait 5 minutes for that one. You want to carry Suzanne? Linus Maverick? You want a Lumir? DMG? Yeah, I don't think it's like 100% today. Like you said, they're issuing rulings. We don't know if it's exactly on the tariffs, but I believe they said last time they said they would be rolling on it. When was last time? It was like last Monday or something, or Friday or whenever it was. Bearish block trade pushing you down there, little 1600 contracts. Actually, those are two separate orders, so about 1200 contracts. Bear flagging the VWAP, obviously hitting your target now. Those trades have been pretty fast recently, the bear flags. You've been getting that prior low damn near immediately. You want a rider? Want a Constantine? This is just a continuation of that same target, that same trade plan that we had from last night, putting in that lower high. Lower high, not seeing the pushback, going for that lower value. 618 coming up, possibly 58. That's going back pretty far, back to January 5th. If you lose January 5th, there's really no value down here until you get down to maybe like 400. Just not seeing any buy pressure down here. Here is a prior low from a couple days ago. They need to start finding a level that they like. Start building a buyer node. Looks like they're trying to bounce off the 60 node, but they're selling that 63 node pretty quickly. Already a pretty wide opening session, like 30 points. Bitcoin having a good day. It's basically going straight up. It's up like 1.5%. Gold was doing pretty good. Now you're down about 0.5% or so from the high. Rejected that daily VWAP almost immediately. So you saw a bear flag in a VWAP on the session VWAP. Now you're seeing a small one on that daily VWAP. Did a pretty decent job building up that lower node, but obviously sellers are still winning that battle. This is the low of, what is that? The 12th. What's today? Wednesday, so that'd be Monday. The low of Monday being tested. Good morning, Chuck. Good morning, Darius. So our 53 target was damn near the bottom, almost to the tick. Our next target is 40. Then we have to extend it past that. Same thing with NASDAQ, our 618 target, damn near the bottom to the tick. Next target is 558. We don't really have any trap traders today. So there's no examples currently. You could argue there might be some trap sellers down here if they don't push down anytime soon. But not too many. The volume's falling off quite a bit. You'd have to watch my order flow videos. The fifth, I think it's what, the fifth video? The fifth video in the Apex series. And there's also a playlist for those other order flow videos as well. Yeah, no obvious traps so far. What time is it? So we should be hearing about either a decision or no decision pretty soon from the Supreme Court. Some type of headline in the next 15 minutes or so, I'd say. Good morning, Bella. They're kind of sitting on a cliff here. There's not a ton of value left to the downside, so they really need to start finding buyers. This area right here is pretty weak. You have like one value day left on ES, and then below that, very weak. Decent amount of value down here on the start of January. This is what we talked about during the close in Discord. Kind of forming a rollover. It's forming that lower high structure where you tried to find higher value, but it failed multiple times. So when it does this, you have to immediately break through that, or it starts to absolutely die off, right? Because they've already tried for higher value. So if it's not going to give you the higher value, it's just going to die. So today we were looking for either opening up here and then pushing higher, or if we opened weak, which we did, then it's very weak. We've seen this pattern many times before. Very, very common. Every time you see this, where you see a couple days try to find higher value and they just don't do it, you need to get that higher value immediately, or it's just going to die. And today is the dying day, right? You couldn't get that higher value, so it's like, okay, fine, we're going to get lower value. If you read Dalton's books, he kind of talks about it with like a look above and fail. They were looking for higher value and they failed. Very weird delta here. We're very obviously going down. We're pretty strong to the downside, but delta is still going up. That means we have a ton of limit sellers pushing us down. So not just aggressive sellers, we have the limit sellers pushing us down. You know that because in order to see that kind of delta, well, at the end of the day, what is delta, right? Delta is the difference between market buys and market sells. So if we have that many market buys coming in, who do market buyers trade into? They trade into limit sellers, right? So if we have all these market buys coming in, even though the price is going down, then we could say, okay, that means there's a lot of limit sellers. And obviously the limit sellers are winning that battle. So a little bit of data at 10 o'clock here. Let's see. Existing home sales, 4.35 million over 4.21. Very big beat there on home sales. So that's the second housing data print we've had this week that was beating expectations by quite a bit. New home sales beating yesterday. I don't see any headlines about the Supreme Court just yet. Are we positive that it's today? Let me double check. Yeah, it does say today. I have the 10-year pulled up on my other monitor. It's down about 0.4% today, I believe. Building a very strong node on the bottom, very quick too. They just built that node up immediately. Around 42. Betting markets saying there's about a 23% chance that the tariffs are upheld. So they're betting on it being dropped. Not a lot of people betting on that, though. It only has 3 million volume. You could say there's trapped sellers, but look at the volume. There's probably like 10 people that are trapped there. There's like no volume at all. It's a very strong node here. It's already probably about 50 to 75% of the POC. This is that area that you need to see buyers coming in. Oh, by the way, we do need to extend our targets. That was our trade plan target. So our trade plan target at 40 being hit, and that is the trade plan being finished in the first 30 minutes. So let's go ahead and extend that. Next downside target would not be until 909. And I'll give the 75 target just in case something crazy happens with the tariffs. So possibly the 75 target. Let's see here. Both of our targets are hit on NASDAQ as well. Let's go ahead and extend those. Let's grab that POC level. Extended targets are 394 and 291. Not exactly saying it's going to keep going, just in case it does. You guys have targets to look out for. So far, it's being completely stalled. They've reclaimed that node. Buyers protecting the 45 node, also reclaiming the 30-minute low. Also taking out some 5-minute highs, or one 5-minute high, I should say. You got to be much more specific than that, Maverick. I've got a million indicators on my screen. Supreme Court opinion was released. It was not about tariffs. I don't see any headlines on it. Where'd you get that report from? Keep an eye on this 30-minute candle. They keep pushing down. If they're around like 30 or whatever, you will have a bunch of single prints on that close. Now we still have 20 minutes left, so not a big deal right now. Yeah, volume profile is fine on TradingView, but not any like delta related stuff. So their built-in volume profiles are perfectly fine. I have basically the default settings. I'm not doing anything fancy to their volume profiles. Just don't use indicators like this on TradingView. The delta indicators and like the cumulative delta, stuff like that, that doesn't work well on TradingView. All right, what's going on here? I don't see any new headlines unless this is just the Supreme Court headline. They're reacting to it a little bit late. Yeah, it's the Supreme Court headline. They're just reacting pretty late. They once again do not rule on the tariffs. And it does not say when the next time they will be looking at them will be. Have a good day, Constantine. Yeah, Ninja Trader is pretty good. Quant Tower is pretty good. I haven't used Quant Tower in years, so back when I used it, it was good. Keep an eye on VWAP here, possibly another bear flag into VWAP, but this one obviously would be a bad variation because you're so aggressive into VWAP. And it's also the second test. Second test is not usually that strong. By not ruling, they are essentially ruling. In the short term, they kind of are, because it's basically by not ruling, they're extending the tariffs. It's kind of the same headline with different wording, you know what I mean? They're extending the tariffs for now, but they're not giving a final decision, basically. Hey, Scott, have a good day, man. Seeing a little bit of a reaction on VWAP here, a little bit of sell pressure, not too much. Still stalling on VWAP a little bit. Still seeing a little bit of sell pressure on VWAP. It's kind of stalling here. Let me actually change my scale. We're moving quite a bit today. Raise the scale a little bit. Very obvious capital B on this 30-minute candle. Very weak in the middle. Secondary node is on the high, so for now it's bullish if they can hold this node, which is a struggle because of VWAP. You're kind of in that chop zone between the VWAPs here, going back and forth. It's trying to roll off a VWAP here and stay below that 24, but it's not really finding sellers on that middle portion. Okay, you're finally starting to see that bear flag and a VWAP actually push towards your target here. That prior low being tested from 50 to like 40. A little bit early on NASDAQ. NASDAQ would need, I'd say, around 600 down to 550. You've given up the top node, now you're back to the bottom node. Okay, now quite obviously those lower targets are being hit, starting to test that prior low. So you can see what I mean by the difference in the first test of VWAP and the second test. The first reaction was immediate. The second reaction, chop, 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 then it fell down. Not as strong as that first initial test. Yeah, this one was easier to get down to the prior low because it had that capital B formation. So there wasn't really anything protecting that prior low. You're very close to shifting that POC. Just needs a little bit more volume on that low. The extended targets, let me see here. The next target would be 09. So pretty far away. 394 on NASDAQ, also pretty far away. You're still seeing that same problem on the low where the sellers are kind of getting stuck. They're not really trapped or anything. They're just not really finding any sellers below 42, 45. A lot of buyers protecting that area. Very, very close to shifting that POC. Didn't shift that POC, but it is going for a lower tail extension here. Possibly going to create single prints. You're about halfway done with the candle, so you still have some time. But if it does continue to push here, watch those single prints, possibly back to 37. Look at the delta here. Delta is still trying to go up on ES when it's clearly coming down. So you're being pushed down by mostly limit sellers, which isn't too unusual when you have this kind of lower high structure. You kind of just have those limit sellers pushing you down lower and lower. Keep an eye on 400. 400 coming up as the next major level. It's kind of far away, but there's really nothing in between that. You have the POC from the second. Then you have the value low from the second as well, around 300. You could say the daily low of the third, or what is that? Sorry, the fifth. Pretty much the same level. Same thing here, the fifth, the lower tail's being tested. And then once you break that tail, you're back into the second, all that value from the second. And this is the problem when you have that kind of rollover top structure on the 30-minute time frame. 30-minute trail very clearly bearish, pivot being taken out. 5-minute pivot getting taken out as well. 1-minute pivot showing that stair-stepping pattern. Coming up on our daily trail, daily support around that same 900 level. So losing that gets pretty bad. Weekly around 700. All these market buyers just completely being absorbed by the passive sellers, the limit sellers. We've been talking about that since the open. Basically, since you started testing VWAP, those limit sellers are just holding you down. Keep an eye on that 30-minute close coming up pretty soon now. I don't really look at too much macro stuff except for the data that comes out. If you're talking about like the macro data like CPI and stuff like that, I look at Forex Factory. They have a calendar that gives you all that data. It's a free calendar and they're pretty fast too for a free program. There's like no delay. It's pretty good. forexfactory.com/calendar. Iceberg orders, you would need level 2 for the most part. You can see walls, though. Walls are pretty close without level 2 data. You can just see that you're trading a massive amount of volume or delta on one single tick, and it's not allowing it to break through that tick. But like I said, that'd be more of a wall. The icebergs are more of a level 2 system, which I don't look at level 2, so. Delta's still flying here. Look at the delta trend. Delta has been going up since 6 a.m., even though price is damn near straight down. Showing that this is mostly a limit seller. Here comes that 30-minute close. Look for 37. They need to protect that or there will be single prints. Now, typically when you have a delta trend like this, if the delta trend continues, it typically wins. So if the delta trend is going up all day and price is going down all day, you typically see a closing spike to the upside. The delta trend, whatever direction it is, typically wins. If it doesn't win, it's typically very violent. You're going to squeeze out a lot of that delta to the downside. You're not really getting too much of a squeeze just yet. You have a little moves here and there. No very obvious squeeze where the delta is just absolutely nuking. No, I don't look at stuff like that. That's all stuff to like see behind the scenes. I don't really need to see behind the scenes with my setups. It's all just kind of in your face patterns. I don't need to see the opening and closing on the open interest. I don't need to see the gamma. It doesn't really it doesn't matter on my my setups. Here's that 30-minute close. Keep an eye on 37. You might have a couple of single prints. Yeah, I explained it earlier. So what I was saying was you got to understand why Delta is doing what it's doing. If you don't understand Delta, you're not going to understand the pattern. The Delta is showing you where the market buyers or market sellers are. So it's telling us that there's a bunch of market buyers, but price is not really going up. So why would there be a lot of market buyers but price isn't going up? The market buyers are, you got to understand who they're buying into, right? Like market buyers are buying into limit sellers. So if they're having all this delta come in, but they're still not going up, then obviously the limit sell side is bigger than the market buy side. So the limit sellers are just constantly pushing it down, the passive sellers. Which is also why you're seeing stuff like this, where you're seeing big clusters of bullish delta on the lows of candles, because you're not getting those aggressive sellers. Same thing we saw there. There's no aggressive sellers there. Basically none there. You had a little bit of a block trade. Yeah, you just have to understand delta. If you don't understand delta, then it's really hard to explain. So you could say buyers are getting absorbed. Yeah, basically. The market buyers are being absorbed. But like I was saying earlier, at the end of the day, by the way, there's no single prints. At the end of the day, if this continues to happen throughout the entire day, the delta typically wins. Like if you want to look at it on a statistical point of view, like what are the odds of the delta winning or the price winning, the delta trend typically wins. More often than not, that delta trend is going to push the price around before the end of the day, right? So like if this kept happening all day, you're going to see a surge upwards eventually. Now it's stats, right? It's not always the case. If it's not the case and the price trend does win, that means the market buyers are done. They've finally given up. And then you typically see that bearish delta coming in massively. Big spike in bearish delta, which we're not really seeing just yet. Yeah, delta is, it's a word that's used a lot in trading, so you have to understand the context of where the word is being used. If I was referring to options, then it would be the options delta. But we're not talking about options. We're only talking about order flow. So delta and order flow is very different. Delta is a Greek in options, but that's only if you're talking about options. Market buyers are dumb money? Not really, no. I haven't given an update on this in a while, so let's go ahead and give an update on the Rivian position. So if you guys were here during the last update, I also posted this in Discord as well. So the last update we talked about how there's two main exit plans for Rivian. You're either selling when it hits that gap, which it did, or you're playing the long game. You're playing the long-term retrace of IPO, getting out of this accumulation range and slowly retracing back to IPO. And that would be possibly with their release of their next vehicle next year or whatever, right? But yeah, just wanted to give an update because that short-term target is obviously being hit. and it's obviously causing a lot of sell pressure here. So for that long term to work, you really need to start finding buyers very quickly here, because this would be like basically a value retrace if you do not find buyers here. So you have like this really large accumulation range. We're retesting that value. If it doesn't find the buyers immediately, this becomes a value retrace, which goes back down to like $10. So that could be a pretty nasty drop. So first target, that short-term target, very good target. It did its job perfectly. You didn't get the full gap fill, which is unfortunate, but you got like 75% of it. So just a little update there. But once you hold above that gap fill, if it ever does, there's really not much above it. There looks like there's a lot of price action above it, but value-wise, there's nothing stopping it here. So I'd say right now the long-term position is still okay, but if they don't start bouncing before like 15, then it's looking pretty bad. So the last time I updated this in Discord was when it hit that gap in December. So let's go ahead and post an update here. When is earnings? They have earnings coming up February 12th. All right. Wanted to post an update on that. Yeah, if you have level 2 data, or if you have like liquidity heat maps, which Addis does have, I just don't have the data for it. You can see where the limit orders are. I don't use stuff like that because it is so easy for them to fake those orders, and it's so easy for them to pull and stack and all that other stuff that goes on with those orders. A lot of spoofing, a lot of pulling. It's just kind of a waste of time in my opinion. But that's just my personal preference. A lot of people do like that style. I am just not one of them. I used to do that stuff all the time. If you guys watched the stream way back in the day, we were doing that from like 2018 to maybe like 2020. Maybe even a little bit past that. But yeah, just not a fan anymore. It's just kind of a waste of time. There's so much fake bullshit that goes on with that style of trading. I don't like wasting my brain power looking at fake stuff, right? Isn't Dom level 2? It is, but I'm only using it for level 1. I use it more for level 1 liquidity and kind of the speed of it and how it's reacting to nodes. I don't use it for level 2. That's kind of like a unique thing that I do. I don't think many traders do that. So you guys are probably not used to seeing that. Dom is almost always used for literally what the name is, the depth of market. It is used for seeing the level 2. But I like using it the way that I do in level 1. Another node that's very close to becoming the POC, either the 44 node or the 34 node. Can I go over how I use it? I literally just did. That's what I said. I use it for level 1 liquidity, seeing the liquidity on the level 1, how it's reacting to nodes. That's why I have the volume profile on both sides. So how the price is moving around the nodes. And also just like the speed of it. How fast is it moving? Are they pulling the liquidity and it's going super fast, or is it really sticky? I couldn't tell you, Maverick. I'm not a professional trader. I don't have any professional experience. I've never worked for big funds or big firms or anything. I'm just purely retail. Delta is still flying here. Look at this candle. Tiny little candle here, 3,000 Delta. There are so many limit sellers here. It's just a battle of who has more money. Are there enough limit sellers to continuously hold this down all day? We don't know. Who's going to run out of money first, the buyers or the sellers? At the rate the Delta's coming in, it looks like the buyers have damn near an endless amount of money. Like I was saying earlier, just based on what we've seen in the past, I don't have a hard number for it, but I can say it's over 50%. More often than not, the Delta trend does win this battle. This one would be pretty violent if they did not win. The squeeze could be pretty large. There's no way to answer that question, Chuck, because it's always an argument with traders. Like, would you rather be a limit seller or would you rather be a limit trader or a market trader? There's arguments for both. There's no right or wrong. And there's the POC shift finally. Funny enough, it's not even to that node that was very close to shifting earlier. It's on the new node, shifting down to the 35 level here. So this shift has generated no lower tail, right? Because we have shifted the value down. So basically, if they stay below this POC and they keep protecting it bearishly, that lower tail wants to get extended, possibly to like 900, maybe our target. What's our target? It's like 909. Yeah, 909. So that extension would line up perfectly with that extended target at 909. We'll see if it gets there. Delta is just constantly flooding in. Keep an eye on VWAP for the third time. If it does shoot up into VWAP here. We've had two major retests of VWAP today. Both of them led to a pretty strong sell-off. This would yet again be a bad variation, most likely, because the delta is going to be extremely aggressive going into that VWAP, and it's going to be the third test. So it's like each time you test it, you're like, okay, it's got to be a little bit stronger this time to break through VWAP. Yeah, the 30 minutes a large time frame for a day trader, but that's kind of the point. The point is you want to have a larger time frame so you kind of have the zoomed out effect and you can see the bigger picture of what's going on. This delta is starting to get there's another POC shift back to that node that we thought it was going to be earlier. Delta's starting to get very aggressive here. Limit sellers not showing up as much anymore. We'll see if they show back up at VWAP. You can tell they're not showing up because look at how easily the price is going up now. They're not creating any nodes or any resistance on the way up. Look at the 1 minute just flying into VWAP here. And this is exactly what I just said about how you're going to get a VWAP retest, but it's going to be a bad variation because the delta is exploding into VWAP. Now, the last variation was also bad, the last VWAP test, but look at how it turned out. So just because it's a bad variation doesn't mean it can't go down. It just means that it's not as good as like the initial or the best optimal pattern. A little bit more sell pressure on VWAP here. I think it's a short squeeze at this point. Well, there's not really a short squeeze today, for the most part. The thing with squeezes is you have to have a lot of obvious bearish delta, and you have to have them being trapped, and then you squeeze them out. The delta has already been massively bullish today, so there's not really a bearish squeeze. Now, in the same idea, you could definitely threaten a lot of the sellers that have been pushing you down with limit orders. But usually, from what we've seen, the traders that do that, the traders that are very passive and pushing the market down with limit orders, they're not as susceptible to squeezes. They're not really in danger to squeezes as much. They're not as sensitive to these price movements, but market traders are much more sensitive to price movements. Yeah, you can squeeze block traders, but the only block trades that are in danger of being squeezed are probably like the big one down here. These all had massive profit. These had massive profit if they were selling, right? Like if they were opening. We don't ever know. But if we assume that this is a sell on the low, they're being pushed out. But that's pretty much it. You can see those passive traders are coming back in on VWAP here. They didn't really sell below VWAP. They did exactly what they did earlier. Remember we had that capital B? They didn't sell right below VWAP, but then they started selling VWAP. Not really a strong reaction on the daily VWAP. Are they going to get it on the session VWAP? Keep an eye on VWAPs on NASDAQ as well. Unfortunately, they're very wide on NQ. It's a 50-point gap. This could be seen as a rotation, which goes into 63, which is basically VWAP, a little bit higher. The rotation of the full session is much larger, going back to 76. This is that buyer demand from that lower tail here. On the 5th. Keep an eye on those 5-minute lows. You are starting to one time frame. You've not lost a 5-minute low since the low of day, so nearly an hour actually. Here's that session VWAP coming up. You're only on the daily VWAP on NQ. Still not seeing a massive amount of seller passive pressure, the limit orders, like we were seeing on the way down. So like I said earlier, it's a battle of who has more money, right? And the sellers seem like they might have run out of money here. You're not seeing that very obvious push down with the passive orders. And the money is very clearly still flooding in on the buy side. Delta at 10,000 and climbing. Can they stay above this session VWAP? This is the third attempt today. The first two attempts were abysmal. They nuked VWAP both times, failing it damn near to the exact tick the first time, nuking about, 40 points almost? Second attempt, you broke it a little bit, nuked another 40 points. So here is the third attempt. Starting to see more market sellers this time around, not limit sellers. Bit more aggressive on VWAP. Bitcoin's still having a pretty good day, up 2.25. I think it's like an 8 or 9 week high. Keep it on these 5-minute lows and that 24 EMA. If they can't hold below that, then most likely this is just a little bit of a trap where the sellers tried to push away from VWAP, but they couldn't actually do it. You always want to see one smooth motion back down. slicing through VWAP, slicing through the 24, going back down to the prior low. When you put in these higher lows, it makes it difficult. Hey, Angela, see you tomorrow, man. Keep it on the 24 here. Basically, the live stream chat in Discord is the community chat. That's the one that we use in the afternoon. We typically use this one in the morning, and then in the afternoon, just above the trading floor, there's a community chat. Okay, so slicing through VWAP, slicing through the 24, you still don't want to see a higher low. So you're going towards your target at this point. Doesn't look too bad. And at this point, you wouldn't be losing this trade. If it came back, you would be most likely closing in profit, or you'd be closing for break even at the bare minimum. Notice the shift here. This is a really bad shift for the buyers because this is not being controlled by passive sellers. This is being controlled by aggressive sellers this time around. The delta has dropped 3,000 since testing VWAP. That is a very bad sign for these buyers. They need to control this delta trend for the entire day, basically, or they are in danger of being squeezed. And it's not like an astronomical amount of delta. It's only 10,000 delta. We've seen days like this where it's 30,000 delta before it gets squeezed out. And those are much, much worse, obviously. 10,000 delta could get squeezed out in 2 candles. That's not really a big deal. Basically, if the bullish delta stopped coming in and the bearish delta kept coming in for the next hour, they would be squeezed out. The delta would probably be back to 0, maybe even negative, if it came back down to the prior low. I couldn't tell you. I'm not looking at Bitcoin's delta. This higher low right here is a little bit weak for the sellers. They need to smack this down pretty much immediately. Keep an eye on those 5-minute lows. We'll see if they get reclaimed. That'd be about 48 to 50. So far, they are keeping that down. That's okay. You don't want to see those 5-minute lows get reclaimed. That becomes a higher low. RAM, let me see here. Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by limit orders being psychological. Limit orders are a real like thing. It's not like a like they are concrete. It's not psychological. They are in the system. They trade normally. They don't show up in Delta in the sense that you would think, but they are showing up in Delta because market orders, like we said in the series, market orders have to trade into limit orders, right? You can't trade market into market. It's not how the market works. So if you think about Delta being market orders, they're still showing limit orders because it's the opposite. So if you're seeing a massive amount of market orders on the Delta, there's also a massive amount of limit orders on the Delta. It's just the opposite side. They're not filled yet. Yeah, limit orders are not filled. They're liquidity. They're in the system. But they are concrete. And then market orders have to trade into them. So when there's a massive delta to the buy side, that means that you could make an assumption that there was a massive amount of limit sells as well, because all that delta had to trade into something. Okay, that higher low is being smacked down. That's okay. Going back into that standard move. Looking for probably around 40, anywhere to like 25, 26. These are delta candles. They're colored based on delta. If I turn it off, that's the normal candles. So this is just showing how bad the delta is today. Price is going down, but delta is going up. But now look at the shift here. Now price is going down and delta is going down. That's bad. That's really bad for the buyers. The buyers do not want to lose control of this delta trend, or they're going to be squeezed out. You have 10,000 delta to squeeze out here, which, like I said, that's not that much. It sounds like it is more than it is. If you go low a day here, if you go to like 20, 15, that delta is going to be dead if the sellers are coming in here. Okay, here's your prior low target. So 3 for 3 today. If you guys are taking the bear flags in the VWAP, if you're taking those trades, we talked about that in the third video, I believe, on the Apex series. If you're taking those trades, you're doing pretty damn good. They did get scarier and scarier, I would say. The first one was the most obvious. The second one was a little bit scary. Third one was pretty scary. Third one was probably the hardest one because you were literally going vertical into VWAP. But at the end of the day, did you find any buyers above VWAP anytime today? No, you did not. Yeah, so even the orders that are not being filled can push price down because people are scared that there's not enough buy pressure to break that. Like there's not enough buyers to break that trend or whatever it is. But they are quite literally pushing the price down today. It's not a psychological thing today. They are literally pushing the price down because buyers are trying to buy into them and they just don't have enough. There's not enough buyers. It's a battle of who has more money. And the sellers have way more money, obviously, today. The only time it looked like the buyers were doing okay was this push right here. Because the sellers let them do that. You can tell they let them do it because look at this here. You did exactly what we did earlier. We said this earlier when they had the capital B. What candle was that? That was it was this candle here, 10 o'clock. You did the exact same thing at 10 o'clock. And if we go back to 10 o'clock, what'd they do at 10 o'clock? They let it run into VWAP and then they nuked VWAP. It's like the same exact algorithm over and over again. What'd they do at the open? They did the exact same thing at the open. They let it run into VWAP and then they nuked it. And you can tell, once again, they let it run into VWAP because look at the LVN. You have the same pattern on both candles. They were not trading before VWAP, and then they started trading at VWAP. Very obvious trap. They pull their orders, which I don't have level 2, so I can't say with a certainty this is what they did, but I can tell based on the chart that it's most likely what they did. They pulled all their orders. They let the price go up. Their orders come back. They slap it down. And this is exactly what I said back at 11:30 to 11:35 when that delta started coming in. That is worst case scenario for the buyers here. Because not only are they being slapped down by the limit sellers, now they've lost the delta battle. So now they're losing delta and they're losing the limit side. So really bad. And once again, here is your target. These trades are very they're not easy as in like they're easy to trade. They're easy as in where I target, where I put my stop, where I'm looking to enter is very, very obvious. Possibly one of the easiest trades structure-wise. You're looking to sell VWAP. Stop is above VWAP. Target is the prior low before you bounced in a VWAP. There's nothing fancy about it. It is extremely the structure is very obvious. There's not a lot of guessing that goes into it. So here is your prior low target, anywhere from 40 down to the prior low. And then NASDAQ completely wiping out the prior low. So anywhere from like 530 down to 480, 470. So they've been running the same algorithm all day. Limit sellers push you down. Limit sellers pull. They let you push up to VWAP. They come back in. They slap VWAP. Are they going to do it again? Is it going to be a 4 for 4? You've had 3 for 3. We'll see if it stays below that 26 and puts in a lower tail again. Ranger said, I was just thinking how if I miss the VWAP trade, it gets you the most tilted because it's so straightforward. Yeah, it's very obvious. Like the structure is very obvious. The hardest part is like when to press the sell button around VWAP. But when you learn how to see that, we talk about this in the series. Like, I keep mentioning that series, guys, because if you guys haven't seen it, you guys need to watch it. We talk about in the series, there's two forms of traps. There's two forms of rollovers. You have those like V-shaped rollovers, and you have the U-shaped rollovers. And we saw both of them today. We had the U-shape, which obviously it's an upside-down U, which is like an N. So you had that like U-shaped rollover, the cupping pattern. And then you had a very sharp rollover, the A pattern, right? A or V, right? Yeah, almost all the questions you guys are asking today, they've been answered in the Apex Trader series. So I highly recommend watching that. Even if you watched the first 3 videos, you would have seen how to trade the VWAP, all 3 VWAP trades today. Yeah, 5-minute Momo showed you there was a trap there. You also had the 30-minute nuking the trail throughout the entire day as well. You also had a bear div on the 1 minute. It all comes together, right? Like I said, I talk about in the series how you put it all together. One of the more advanced things you saw today that was very hard to see unless you're like watching volume profile every single day was that capital B. You saw that capital B pattern where they were trading very aggressively. For some reason, they stopped trading, started trading very aggressively again. So this, you can see the sellers let them go up. This wasn't a battle. The sellers let them do this. You know they weren't fighting because there's literally no volume there. They just let them go up. So what is that? 30 points each time? That's actually 40 points. 40 points that time. 40 points that time. And 40 points that time. So 120 points today on ES simply from just selling VWAP. That's kind of crazy. And that's obviously best case scenario. Most people are not going to get 40 points every time. But even if you took a late entry, if you late entered, let's say 50, let's say the most conservative exit here, that's still about 10 to 15 points. That's not bad. So late entry, the earliest possible exit, you're still getting 10 to 15 points. Same thing here. Let's say late entry. That's about 10, yeah, about 10 to 15 points each time. That's not too bad. But all right, guys, we're going to call it there. We're almost at 100 likes. If you guys can get it to 100 likes, we'll go ahead and do another giveaway for an Apex account. If you guys are in Discord, I will be streaming there for the rest of the day, as always. If you guys are heading out before the giveaway, I appreciate you being here. Just hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. If you guys want to support the channel, you can use code BREW on Apex, BREW. I believe it's still 80% off. And I believe they're still doing the $35 resets. So once again, to see whatever's cheaper, whatever's going to save you more money. Buying a new account or just resetting your old account. Let me go ahead and get the giveaway ready if you guys are hanging out for the giveaway. If you guys are heading out, I will be streaming tomorrow, same time as always. Same as yesterday, we're just going to do 1 through 50. Let me go ahead and get this set up here. So pick a number 1 through 50. And if you guys tie, we'll just go ahead and do a tiebreaker. Seems like it's the easiest way to do it. And only pick one number if you guys are new here. Only one number. If you pick more than one number, you're just going to be disqualified. So how the giveaway works, it's going to give you a promo code. Basically the same place you put the brew code, just put this promo code in. And it will give you any size account. Just pick which size you want. For free. For 30 days. And by the way, if you guys are purchasing any accounts in January with code BREW, just hold on to those receipts. We're going back to doing our old raffles that we did every single month last year, except for the big giveaway. We gave away a laptop at the end of the year. But every single month, I take the receipts, I give you guys raffle tickets, and then we pull winners for cash prizes and Discord access, stuff like that. So just keep those receipts. I'm going to take those from you probably last week of January. Sellers are getting a little bit weak down here, not seeing that delta push, that squeeze that we were seeing earlier. I'll give you guys about 1 more minute and we'll start pulling. Make sure to have your emails ready. I do have to verify your email before I send it. Building a very bottom-heavy node here at 25. We'll see if they can control it. They do need to stay below that. All right, I'm going to roll it at 58. 20 more seconds. Like I said, if you guys have the same number, don't worry about it. We'll just go ahead and do a tiebreaker. Keep an eye on those ADMAs and 5-minute highs, protecting every 5-minute highs since 11:30. All right, I'm going to go ahead and roll it. Good luck, guys. 15. We actually just had a 15. Roger, there you are. Roger, Chris, we got 2 at least. All right, so we have Roger, Chris, Azul. We got 3 of them. Is that it? I think that is it. Are you all 3 still here? Chris Walker, Roger, and Azul. Let me make sure I didn't miss anybody. I think that is it. Just you 3. Okay, Roger's still here. Azul is still here. And what about Chris Walker? You still here? So what you guys are going to do is you guys are going to pick a number between 1 and 10. I'm going to go off who picks the number first, right? So if somebody picks 7, the next person picks 7. Whoever picked it first is going to get 7. So pick a number between 1 and 10. Just try to pick a different number. Don't pick all the same number. And then I'm just going to keep rolling it until one of you guys wins. Okay, Roger's doing 9. Chris is doing 6. So we'll pick a number that's not 9 or 6. And you're picking 4. Okay, 9, 6, and 4. It was 6. Who was 6? It was Chris. Congrats, Chris. You have 1. Here is my email, Chris. Let me double check that. Giveaway period daytradertrading@gmail.com. That should be right. Go ahead and send me an email. Just let me know, hey, I won the Apex giveaway. I'm going to send you a random number just to confirm it's you. And then type that random number in chat. If you guys are heading out, I appreciate you being here. We will be doing giveaways for the rest of the week. As long as we can get to 100 likes on the stream, we'll be doing giveaways. If you guys are heading out, I will see you tomorrow. If you guys are in Discord, I will see you guys in Discord. Still protecting the 25 node here. Protecting it bullishly. Let me know when you send the email, Chris, because sometimes it goes to spam. Hey, Techie, no problem, man. Still waiting on what? Is it like loading? So this has been the weakest breakdown so far. The first VWAP nuked the low. So here is the prior low at 61. We nuked it. Same thing here. Prior low got nuked. And then same thing here. But look at the break of the low here. Break of the low is pretty weak. Well, I can't email you, Chris. I don't have your email. You got to email me first. Did you not get it in chat? Let me post it again. Keep it on that 24 EMA being retested here. We'll see if they let them push back up again. Okay, I got your email. I'm going to send you a random number and just put that number in chat. Failing the 24 here. Sellers coming back in. Awesome. I got you, Chris. Okay, so look out for my next email. It's going to be a promo code. And then you just put that promo code in. You go sign up for an account like you would normally, and then just put the promo code in. And it will give you a free account for 30 days. But then it will renew it like full price or half price. So if you don't pass it in that 30 days, just make sure to cancel it and go back to the brew code. But all right, guys, I appreciate being here. I will be in Discord for the rest of the day. If you guys are not in Discord, I will see you guys tomorrow. Like I said, I saw a lot of questions today in chat that are covered in the new series. So make sure you guys watch that new series. We just finished that series. I think it was in like around Christmas time. So it's a 5-part series that goes over pretty much everything that I talk about on stream. Starting with candlesticks, going all the way to volume profile and order flow. So it starts out pretty easy, and then it gets a bit more advanced in the end of the series. But yeah, be sure to check that out. But all right, guys, I'll see you guys tomorrow. If you're in Discord, I'll see you guys there. Peace, everybody.